Cool. So hello everyone. We are finally here, week 6. Yep, we took a short hiatus, a short break. We had to restructure the last 3 sessions of the course, of this series, the Android weekly series. So in week 6, we're going to cover build on what we covered in week 5, which is list views. So list views, as we had mentioned before, is an inefficient way to handle lists. So on week 6, we're going to build on that and learn the more efficient way to implement lists in our Android apps. So Recycler Views today. And then finally next week, which is pretty exciting, we're going to be doing our capstone project. So next week, we're going to do our favorite dogs app, but there's a twist. So far, we're just using local data, but now we're going to use data from the internet. So we're going to learn how do we download data from like online APIs. So let's say if you want to download like the live weather or some live information, you can do it we're going to learn how to use the retrofit library to do that. And then, well, the incredible Firebase. We're going to implement Firebase so we can store our dog information and we can let the users add their information, edit information, and also delete information. So we need a proper backend database, and we're going to learn how do we implement that in Firebase. So we are finally nearing the end of the series. So this is our third last session, and then we're going to have 2 back-to-back sessions where we cover our capstone project. So without any further ado, let's begin our today's modified time of 1 hour. So today is a little different. So we took a short break and we actually went over all the things that we can do to improve this series. And so one of the ideas that we came across was having a cheat sheet. Yes, so we have built the slides. We have tried to improve our slides, and we've also built a cheat sheet, which you can check it out in the description of this video. And also I will go over it, so not to worry. So one thing I want to tell you is for any registration or any video links or any other information, you can head over to this website, Think Outside the Valley, totv.me or dsalsc.com/Android. So just before you begin, you can always check out any GitHub links, any resources there. What apps have we made so far? All codes there, and you can check it out. So our favorite dogs app using RecyclerView. This is how our app will look. We're going to have a list of this dog information. So this is a we have written the list, behind the scenes. We don't have to do it now. It's a local list of a dog for each letter of the alphabet. So there are 26 alphabets, so there are 26 dogs. And the fields are name, breed, likes, and dislikes. So we're mainly going to talk about how do we implement recycler views to model this list of dogs. And the 2 important things in recycler views are adapters and view holders. So we're going to talk about this in great detail. And then a few small things to make our app more cohesive and to make it the best that is possible by us. We're going to talk about how do we efficiently pass extras and intents. So far, we just, in the last week, we use intents. Yeah, Rohan, we use intents. So what are we going to do new? Well, we're going to learn about how do we make it more efficient. As a programmer, we want to make things more efficient. We're going to talk about that today. And then, well, this is just small pizzazz, just small spices on our main dish. So, list views. So, just a quick refresher on what we did last week. List views are a way of implementing list of items. So, as you saw in the previous app where we had a list of dogs, we use list views to implement that. But they have become outdated. Yes, list views are now being replaced by the more efficient alternative, recycler views. So one of the things where recycler views excels over list views is it's more memory efficient. And when your RAM is less, is used by a much lesser amount, yes, your phone speeds up and the scrolling is much more quicker and you get faster FPS, much more higher FPS, and it's just a smooth experience for the user. So that's why we're going to prefer to use recycler views over list views. So a few differences here. We spoke about the first one. List views, we shouldn't use it because they aren't as efficient. But a few more things is list views. The reason why it's inefficient is because it creates views all the time. So Anytime there's a need for a view, it just creates it. But now RecyclerView, as the name suggests, it recycles the views. So if you have already created some views that you're not using, why don't we use that? And that's what RecyclerView does. And it reuses the old views. That's it. That's just the small difference that makes such a huge difference in terms of performance and efficiency. So let's see this in action. So let's take an example of a recycler view, which is a more efficient method of implementing a list of items. So this is our list of items. So if you see here, this bottom line, this is basically the borders of the screen. So you have a screen at the top and a screen, I mean the screen border at the top and the screen border at the bottom. So a few things is there are these two methods. You can even refer to the cheat sheet, which I will actually quickly go over so you can check it out. There's only one person here, so the link is in the description. And if it's not, you can mention it in the YouTube chat and I will share the link. Or you will share the link. Cool. So some common terms that I'm going to go over now are in step 2. This paragraph could help you now in what I'm going to cover. So you can read this as I explain this in the slides. So a couple of things in those two paragraphs. It says that on-create view holder is more expensive and on-bind view holder is less expensive. Now, don't let this overwhelm you. We haven't really gone in depth. This is just a brief overview, so it's totally fine. Totally fine if you don't understand what this means. We didn't even start it, so it's fine. It's totally fine. So just think of that this is an expensive call. This is an inexpensive call. So we want to minimize the number of these calls and maximize the number of these calls. So in the same cheat sheet, you would notice the definition for on-create view holder. On-create view holder, as the name suggests, it creates this layout. So each item is created. So we have to call on-create view holder. So there are 6 views here. 4, 5, 6. So it's called 6 times. Now, if you refer to the definition of on-bind view holder, it says on-bind view holder puts data in the views created by on-create view holder. So it's just an introduction. So bear with me on this one. We'll talk about it in detail soon. So we have to call 6 times on-create view holder, right, for the 6 views, and then on-bind view holder to put like information here, like the ace, dog's name, Affin Pincher, the dog's breed, and the image. So we have to call on-bind URL, on-bind view holder 6 times. Cool. Now what happens if the user scrolls up? So we'll have a condition. Whoops. I animated that, didn't realize that. So when the user scrolls up, so if you see on the previous slide, we were here, right? User scrolled up. Looks like this animates everywhere. That's a bit of a mistake there. So naturally, the next thing that was out of the screen, the next item in our list that was out of the screen will go up, right? Naturally. So it comes up. Now the thing that RecyclerView does, since this view is out of the screen and the user is scrolling, like the next view that will be displayed is here. So what RecyclerView does is it recycles this view. It brings this view to the bottom. You get something like this. But now the problem is, it still says ace. So when you recycle the view, it still uses the information of the previous. So earlier ace was here, but here it should be like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, a dog starting with G. So that's when you have to call on bind view holder to just change the values in that layout. So we won't recreate the layout. The expensive call is still done 6 times itself. And then you only call on bind view holder one more time, which is inexpensive, so it doesn't matter. And so when you call on bind view holder, is changes to gallop. And then when you scroll again, this same process repeats. It keeps reusing. Now Batman will be reused and brought down, and it will be replaced with a dog. Like on bind view holder will be called on that, and it will be replaced with a dog starting with the letter H. So this was a very brief visual representation of what happens. Now let's see what happens in the inefficient version. Yes, so list views inefficient. Why that is? Let's see. So list views, it has instead of two methods, it does both in one. So it creates the view and it also gives the data in the same method called get view. So again, that definition is mentioned. And if not, by the way, this is a very interactive session. So be sure to put your questions in the YouTube chat section. I'll be happy to answer those. So get view now, since it does the creation and the data and inserting the data in the view, the entire method becomes expensive. Always creation is expensive. So RecyclerViews divided it and called the expensive view less number of times and the inexpensive method more number of times. In list views, everything is done in the same method. So it calls get view 6 times, which is fine. It did the expensive call 6 times, which is very similar to our RecyclerViews. But things change when you scroll up. All right, this comes here naturally. But the thing is, uh, let me go to the previous slide here. This feather comes and takes its position here, right, on our screen. Now, Gallop has to come here as the next view in our list. But what happens is, list views, it calls get view again and creates a view here called Gallop and puts the information here. So instead of reusing this, bringing it down, this is just forgotten. And it's like a memory leak. So we're never going to access this, but it's still consuming our RAM, it's still consuming our memory. And so now we just did the expensive call one more time, then the recycler view. If you remember in the recycler view, if I can go back, we did the expensive call 6 times, the inexpensive call 7 times. But here we just did it one more time, right? But when you scroll many times, then this will add up and it will severely slow down your app and for no reason at all. So, a lot of talking, Rohan. Finally, let's get to doing stuff. Yes, we're very close. So, after this, we'll start to do our live coding. And the GitHub links too in the description. So, if you're too eager, you can check it out there too. Before we even start, you can check it out. Well, this is the same two paragraphs that I referred to in the cheat sheet, which I just went over. Get view is used by list views, which is expensive because get view creates and also gives the data. Now, recycler views divides get view into on create view holder, which is expensive, and on bind view holder, which is cheap. So keep calling this many number of times and call this as least number of times as possible. So don't worry, let's get cracking, let's get coding. And actually, before we even begin, a few terms that we'll briefly go over, and then we'll go over in depth in our code. So a few terms to master recycler views. These are 3 important terms that we're going to use throughout our app: adapter, view holder, and layout manager. So adapter, it's the main meat of our recycler view implementation. So it creates those 2 methods that we spoke about, right? On create view holder, on bind view holder, right? At least, in some way now things are starting to make sense. Adapter, it stores the code that is going to be put in these 2 methods, right? This will be called less number of times, this will be called more number of times. Let's get used to it. So used to these cool terms. Next, view holder, we'll just briefly go over it now, is a Java representation of a list item. So you have a layout file, which is the visual representation. Then we need a code representation of it, which is the view holder. Don't worry, we're going to skim through this. Layout manager, it talks about how our views are going to be placed on the screen. So if you want to display it as a linear list, like a vertical linear list, a linear layout manager, or a horizontal linear list, a linear layout manager. Sometimes you want grids, then grid layout manager. So you can place the views in different ways. Well, now let us begin. So to get this code, it's actually on GitHub. So again, the link is in the description. If not, as always, you can search my name and all GitHub, and then users, the one with the picture, and then if you click on repositories, and if I went too fast, let me know. The link is in the description. Click on the first one, which is 9, right? We're gonna do this one. And now to clone this repository on your local system, click on code and copy this URL. Then head over to Android Studio, File, New, Project from Version Control, Git. So again, File, New, Project from Version Control, Git. And if at any point I'm going too fast, let me know, and I'll explain that again. Paste the URL here where it says clone repository. Paste the URL. You can test it out. It should work. And then choose a folder, where you want to save it. This is all right. This seems like a good folder, and clone. And now it should clone it and open in a new window. And again, as usual, we wait for all the tick marks. So it has downloaded the project on our local system. Now it's building the project. And here, if you on the bottom right, as usual, we have divided our code into 3 steps. So again, on the cheat sheet, there's some definitions, some words. It's just something that could help you understand these steps a little more. Is again on the cheat sheet, which link in the description. So we're going to start with our step 1, start a code, and check out as, and then click on OK. Yep. And so step 1, as it says in the cheat sheet, step 1 is how do we set up our recycler view. So we're going to create the layout and just use find view by ID to access it in the code. So yeah, this could seem it's very easy. Trust me on this one. These words could seem complex at first, but it'll be fine. So in main activity, again, the project structure might be familiar from last time. If not, no problem. So we have this main activity.java file, and under res layout activity underscore main, this is our a layout file. So our Java file, our layout file. So now in our layout file, in to do, you can check out where's to do 1. Let's head over to do 1. Now we have to add the dependency for using RecyclerViews in our app. So the link is here. You can head over to this link on the browser of your choice. And you can even Google search like RecyclerView dependency. And then you can copy this first line wherever it says implementation. Wherever it says implementation, that's usually where they're talking about a dependency. So head over to our Android Studio and paste this below the to-do. And whenever we change this file, we must always click on sync now. And we should get those tick marks there. And cool. So now we can use RecyclerViews in our app. So head over to the layout file, activity_main.xml, and let's do these to-dos here. So 2 says replace ListView with RecyclerView. So now if you notice, you get this option because you just downloaded the dependency. So without downloading the dependency, we won't get this option. You can click on enter. And by the way, if you aren't in this pane, if you're in something that looks like this, be sure to switch to the text pane. So you will minimize this. So design and text, be sure to be in the text. And I'll type here recycler view. Click on the first one, not the alert controller, but the widget. Oops. Control space for autocomplete, paste that here. You get this. 3. So tools, list item. So this says like in our, whenever you see tools, it's only for a preview pane, not for the actual app. So in our preview, instead of showing item 0, item 1, item 2, why don't we display the items that we have pre-made, right? In dog_item.xml. We covered this last week, so if you want to check it out, you can check it out last week's thing too. So, well, anyway, here, type in dog_item and click on enter in the autocomplete. And now it shows these pre-made dog items in a preview pane. So we know how the layout looks. Cool. Optionally, you can add an item count. So I'll just show you what it means. I can add 3 and the preview shows 3, right? 5. So we won't do it. We'll just leave it as it is. And now for a final thing in step 1. Step 1 is very short. It's just setting up the recycler view. Let us create the variable using our very friendly find view by ID method. So recycler view. So there's a class, right? Everything that's there in XML, there's a class for it in Java. So RecyclerView, let's call this RV dogs. RV is the general convention. RV stands for RecyclerView. And then next is description of what the RecyclerView is of what. So RV dogs means it's a RecyclerView of dogs. And then our good old find view by ID method. I'll go a little slow, r.id.rv_dogs. Now it shows this error here because we haven't given an ID to this. So in our recycler view, let's give it rv_dogs. So that way in Java, it will search for in our XML for a view with this ID, and it returns us this recycler view. Great. That's it. That's it for our step 1. So now, as always, to save our changes, head over to the terminal. And even though your terminal might look a little different, it's fine. Weekly series, good. Type in your git add dot. This is to save our changes. So git add dot, then git commit -m. In the message, you can just type like, now completed step 1. Git add dot and git commit completed step 1. Enter. And now you see this green thing should go away because the changes are saved. And now let's get into the main part of today's session is step 2. So check out as, okay. So the thing in step 2 is we are actually going to implement the dogs adapter, which, as we mentioned before, it is the main part that powers our recycler view. So let's see how do we do it. So a couple of things here. Again, don't let this scare you. The reason why it looks like as there are many lines is because I've even implemented the code here. So, this is a new topic and things could get a little complex. So you can just uncomment these lines and there you go, right? You don't need to even write the code. So I'm going to write the code here, but if you want to follow along quickly, just uncomment it out. By the way, what shortcut I'm using? Control and /. Now, if you wanted to know that, well, let's head over to to-do 1. Create a package called adapters. So right click, new package. Again, right click on the base here, then new package. In package name, as they said, adapters, right? To-do 1, adapters. Then within the adapters package, add this dog adapter.java. So again, right click on that package, new Java class, dogs adapter.java. I mean, no need of .java. It's understood. Okay. You can click on cancel or okay, it doesn't matter. And now what we'll do is within the adapter class, let's copy or cut. I'll cut Control X and I'll paste it here. So that way I know what to do in dogs adapter. Cool. Next, to do 3, make it extend. So if you would see in the notes again, we have mentioned here is that adapters, they extend this thing here. So extend. So which topic is this? Inheritance. So if you figure that out, yes, we're going to use inheritance here. So extend. So inheritance is the main part of object-oriented programming, which is widely used in Android development. So this is a nice introduction to it. Extends recycler view dot adapter. And then whenever you see these less than greater than sign, these like square and these angular brackets, that's generics. So again, OP concepts are heavily used in Android, and it's especially used in RecyclerViews. So if there are any questions, put it in the chat section. I'll be happy to answer those. So here, yeah, and it should dogs adapter dot view holder, which is something we haven't implemented so far, but we'll talk about what this means. Then for to do 4, create a subclass. So class subclass is called dogs adapter and extends. So again, I'll explain what this means. I'm just doing what's mentioned here, and now let me explain everything. So in the definitions, you might have seen what's an adapter. That is this. It extends the default adapter that Android provides. So Android provides this adapter, and we extend that. So we add some implementation of, we add some custom implementation of this adapter. Now, view holder, remember in the definition, it's even on the cheat sheet, view holder is the Java representation of an object. Oh, not dogs adapter, I mean dogs view holder. So this view holder, it extends the default view holder, and here we'll do dogs view holder. So this is just our way of telling Android that I want to use this adapter, and hey, what view holder do I want to use? So that's where you will define dogs adapter, which is this, dot dogs view holder, which is this. So it'll get familiar soon. This is new, so don't worry. Let's head over to step 5, add to private. Yes. So our dog adapter, it will take in two private variables. So one is context and context, and private. I go a little slow, so people. So if you want to check it out, I'll go a little slow. And now to initialize this, let's create a constructor. So one shortcut here is Alt Insert, or whatever the equivalent for Mac. Alt Insert. You can click on constructor, then click on Shift and select everything, right? And then enter. It creates a constructor for us. Cool. Now, next thing, we initialize this 7. Oh yes. So we have to override these 3 methods here. So you can click on Alt Enter where it says the errors, and if you click on Implement Methods, you see Android already tells us that we have to override these 3 methods. So it already selected all of these 3 things for us, and okay. Now it's essential you follow these steps in order here. That way you will get no errors in the future. So it's highly recommend you follow these in order, or else instead of dog view holder, you'll get it's like RecyclerView.viewHolder. This is the default one, but we don't want the default one. We want the custom one that we have defined here below. Cool. So here we have onCreateViewHolder. Now, let's head back to our main activity.java, and let's. Oh, by the way, we were in to do 7. Let's head over to do 8. So I'll cut this within dog viewholder.java, and let me paste it here, because those to-dos were for within dog viewholder class, which is this one. I create a constructor matching super. So one easy thing is just click Alt Enter and then click on create constructor matching super. So it auto creates this constructor for us, right? Next, add global variables. So now here, this definition of what a view holder is will start to get clear. So if you notice in dog item.xml, so again, app res layout dog item.xml, each item has 3 main things that will change: image, the name of the dog, the breed of the dog. So image view, right? We have this. Then text view, we have this text view. Then this, we have this TV underscore breed text view. So remember, view holder is a Java representation of our item. This is the layout representation. View holder is a Java representation. So let us create Java variables for each of those 3 points of interest or views of interest. So let's do it. So again, as I mentioned, image view, MIV. So M stands for member variable, that is for global. IV is image view, and then dog. What's the image about? It's about dog. So MIV dog. Then text view, right? For our name. So MTV. What's the text view about? Name, right? Then text view. What's the text view about now? It's about breed. Now we have these 3. This is a Java representation of this here. So we took for image view, we took for name, and let's take it for breed. So now in our adapter, let us initialize those as it says in point 10. So MIV dog, even an example is given here, item view dot find view by ID. So be sure to use this. So item view. So find view by ID won't work here. So basically you're saying is item view dot find view by ID, which let me explain what it means. r.id.iv underscore dog. So let me go slow here. So Android, it gives us this view, which like whenever Android will create this view holder, it will give us a view. What is this view, Rohan? Well, this view is this. So we are doing that view that Android gave us, dot find view by ID, and then here we are giving the ID of it. So from our view, it will find the view with that ID, IV underscore dog, which is this one, and then it returns this. This call will return that image view and save it here. So very similarly, mtv name is equal to item view dot find view by ID. So I'll go as slow as possible. TV underscore name and mtv breed is equal to item view dot find view by ID r dot id dot TV underscore breed. So we initialize all of those. I will set in point 10. Next. So this is a new concept. So any questions are there? Type in the comment section and we'll answer those. So next is to do 11. So let me copy all of these. Control X. And those to dos were for this method. Now you must have heard this name somewhere. Yes, we just spoke about it on create view holder, which is expensive call because it creates the view. So now here is where you can actually paste these to dos. Control X, delete this, paste it here. So here is where you can save your time by just uncommenting these lines out, right? If you want to save time, but I will write it for all of you to see. So first let's create a layout inflator. So on create view holder, it creates this layout, this item. So let's create a layout inflator. So this is boilerplate code. It'll become second nature for you when you get practice. So now it could seem difficult. It's not difficult. Trust me on that. Take my word for it. Call it inflator is equal to layout inflator. I'll go a little quickly with this one because you can uncomment it out. And again, slow me down if needed. And M context. So basically this dot from, it takes a context. Control P, I click Control P and it showed me the parameters. It takes a context which we store it here and we gave it using the constructor. So the constructor saves it here and then we access it here. Next, now using the inflator, we have spoken about inflator in like the previous weeks, which I'll give a quick refresher. Inflator is like a balloon pump. So you can inflate a balloon with the pump, right? So we have the pump now. Let us inflate the balloon using inflator.inflate. So let's save it, or before you do that, let's do inflator, right, which is the balloon pump.inflate. And then this asks us, all right, which balloon to inflate, the red one, the green one, the blue one. And how will you specify that? Using r.layout.dog item, which r.layout.dog item, right, which is this one. So we inflate this with a pump and then just type in parent and false. This is just standard. It almost never changes. Just parent and false. Next thing is you can return a dog view holder of that view. And yeah, so we need to save this view. So we can call it here. So let us view is equal to new. So again, we took the pump, then we inflated the balloon with the pump, then we returned a dog view holder. Remember, view holder, right, is a Java representation of it. So basically, we cannot return XML stuff, right, in Java. So we created a Java representation of it, of our layout, and we're returning that. So whenever Android calls on create view holder, we take the pump, we inflate one, and we return it. This is very expensive, so we don't call it many. Android doesn't call it often, right? Next, so good progress here. Next is the small thing here, Control C, or actually Control X. Let's delete everything. And for on bind view holder, I'll paste it here. So what it says is, like put data in this view. So currently we have just inflated this balloon, but maybe on the balloon you want to write like happy birthday Sean or happy birthday Samantha. So that's where you would do it in this method. So it's like your parent, you are a small kid, your parent takes the pump and fills the balloon for you. That's the hard work. So your parent does it for you. Next, for the easy part, the parent just gives you like a pen or those markers, those Sharpie, the indelible Sharpie, and so you can write your friend's name or your name on the balloon. So that's easy task. So we do it in on bind view holder, which can be called any number of times. So let's see how we do that. So if you notice, Android, it gives us the holder. View holder is the same thing as the item, the same thing as the layout. It's just a Java representation of it. So all you have to do is, as the example says here, you can uncomment this if you want. Holder dot. So first thing, let's do it for the name. So mtv name, which talks about this thing here, right? And this is already linked with our XML, with our layout. So mtv name dot set text. Yep, we use the same method that we have used in all the previous weeks. The same method. So holder, which is a Java representation, right, of each item, and then we take the text view from it, dot set text. Now what text to put here? Now that could be confusing. If you see here, we have this big list, right, of 26 dogs here. So what we do is, Android, it also gives us this position variable here. So what we can do is, we can take m dogs, because if you notice, our constructor, it saves this global variable dogs in our adapter. So what we do is, we do m dogs. So from a list of dogs, we do position. So Android gives us the exact position. Now you might be thinking, what's this position? So let me go to the slides, to something here, present. So here, Ace was 0, Batman was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now Android will call on bind view holder, passing two parameters. First one is view holder, which is this one, right? The Java representation of this thing, this layout here. The second one is position, which is 0, 1. Ace was 0, so 0, Batman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Android passes 6. Then we will go in our m dogs array. We'll take the dog at index 6 and put the details in over here. So now if you go to the next slide, the new information is injected into this view holder. So heading back over to our Android, so we take the correct dog from here using the position that was called dot get name. Oops, dot get name. So one shortcut here is Control D. It duplicates the line, and all you have to do is change MTV breed. So we also have to change the breed, right? So breed mdog's position. So we take the correct dog from our list, then get breed. Right now, there's one thing here that will be different. Now for the image, so things change a little bit for the image. So for the image, we use again the Picasso library. So if you notice in our dogs list in main.java, we have an image URL value. So whenever you want to download images from the internet, yep, we use the Picasso library as we covered before. A quick refresher on it. Picasso dot get dot load, and here you can take in mdogs position. So take the exact dog from a list of dogs dot get image URL. So we get the correct, we get the image URL of the correct dog, then dog dot into holder dot iv dog. So that's something something a little different. It's not dot set image or something. It's Picasso dot get dot load. This will give us the image URL dot into. So holder dot miv dog. So the holder was the Java representation of it dot image view dog. We saved it here. All right. So lastly, we actually are doing pretty good because we have already completed many to-dos here. So any questions there, let me know, and I'll place this here. So return the length of the dogs. So if you notice here, our adapter has this list of this array of dogs. So what we have to do here is mdogs.length. Get item count will return the length or the number of dogs that we have in our adapter. So we have to just return the length, and that's it. That's it. So on create view holder created the view, pumped a balloon. You wrote the name of the birthday child, right? You're a small kid. Get back, reminisce your childhood. Get back to it, and you wrote the name of the child and length. Yeah. So Android calls get item count in between a couple of times actually, just to know how many dogs are there in the list. So we don't have to worry too much. Just return the length. Good. Next, okay, we have done this. So I'll delete this. 15, now 16. You can uncomment these lines out. So now in our main.java, let us create the adapter. So dogs adapter is equal to new dogs adapter, this comma mdogs. So I went a little fast here, let me explain. So we create a new object of this dogs adapter, which is this what we just worked on now. And we pass in two parameters, you remember? Our constructor takes in context and the list of dogs. So we passed in context and list of dogs. Very quickly, rv.setAdapter. So whenever you create an adapter, set it to your list of dogs. Next, our layout manager. So we discussed this. Layout manager talks about how do we display the things on the screen, the views on the screen. So again, this since this code is here and you can uncomment it out, I'm going a little quickly, but I'm always open to questions, so be sure to slow me down if needed. So rvdogs.set layout manager. So we created a linear list, right? We have a linear list of dogs. So we created a linear layout manager and we just set it to the recycler view. Cool. 17, 18, 19. I think that's the end. 19 to-dos. Great. Now, if you want, you can run the app. Let's run it on our Pixel, right? And hopefully it should work. So this is the old app. So let's see quickly if it works. and hopefully it will work. And if there's any problem in anything, yeah, in the click, we have to do that in the next step. So so yep. So if there's anything that you were stuck at, or you want to refer the code, solution code is also here. So you can go to step 2 solution code and check it out. Now for a final step. So again, to save the changes, terminal git add dot git commit dash m. So basically you have to write a message with the commit. So just type in anything like completed step 2 and enter. And then the green stuff will go away because changes are saved. And just download step 3 starter code from our GitHub repository. Check out as okay. And oh yes. Now we're here. So here we have 17 to-dos, and let's go through them. So this is a little different now. We are going to learn, as we mentioned before, parcelable. So again, if you check in the cheat sheet for step 3, parcelable, so you can click on the first one, is a way on how to convert our our class, our Pojo, our plain old Java object, right? How do we convert our class, our dog model class, into a byte string? So to do that, you can follow these steps. So byte stream is needed to efficiently pass extras in intents. Now, again, I threw too much at you, so this will be very clear by the end of this. Trust me on this one. There's a lot of trusting here, but it really will be easy. So as the to-do says, you can implement parts label, right? Get this error. So you can click Alt Enter, implement methods. And as it says, implement these two methods, and it overrides those. The thing is, now we have to write some code here. Now, we can either do it manually, or we can just click on this and click Alt Enter, add parsable implementation. It does some cool things. It adds these two methods for free, the protected constructor and this creator, and it also writes code for write to parcel. So write to parcel, it writes our fields into the byte string, right? Write it into the byte string, and then we're going to read from the byte string. Call this protected constructor that reads from the byte string and creates the object back. Don't worry, we don't need to get into the specifics of this. I just briefly mentioned it just in case. So you can follow these steps. Any questions, let me know. Next, let's head over to do 4. And now this is an interface. So in our dogs adapter, let's follow these to-dos. So to save time, you can uncomment this out. I'll go a little quickly because you can uncomment it out. So interface, dog click interface. In the dog click interface, let's create an abstract method called onDogClick. So what does this mean? So we created this interface and we created this abstract method which we haven't implemented so far. There's no code for it. Okay, that's why it's an interface, no code. Next, let's create an instance of that. So private dog click interface and click interface. So our dog adapter will have 3 fields now: context, dogs, and dog click interface. So I will next is add it in the click interface. So we added, like, to initialize this thing. You see, this is opaque and this is grayed out because it's not initialized. So to initialize this, add it as a constructor. Add it to the constructor here. And click interface is equal to click interface. So again, you can uncomment these lines out and you can do it there. 8. So let me briefly go over. We created an interface, we created an instance, like a variable of that interface. Then to initialize it, we did it here. Now it shows gray again because we haven't used it anywhere. Now that comes us to our next thing here. You can uncomment these lines out because we are nearing to the end. So item view. So basically, our dog view holder, Java representation of our item. So dot set on click listener. Let me type this and then I'll explain. New on click listener. Very easy. Just click enter on the autocomplete. Control space if the autocomplete has disappeared. Enter, and it writes all this for you. So basically, this means is whenever an item is clicked, right? Android gives us the view. So whenever a view is clicked or item is clicked, then onClick will be implemented. OnClick will be executed. So here you can do mClick interface that on.click after position. So basically what we're saying is, remember this interface that we just created just now from here to here? We give it this method here, this that hasn't been implemented. So whoever creates this dog adapter will have to implement that and pass it in the constructor, and we'll save it in our instance here. Right? See, mClick interface is equal to this. The person passes it. What we do is whenever the item is clicked, the view is clicked, we call that method by passing in the position. Now, why do we need to pass position? So we know exactly which dog was clicked. So get adapter position gives us that. You can uncomment these lines out. Next, in main activity, now you notice there's an error here because our dog's adapter constructor takes in 3 parameters now. So you can, wherever there's like the code written, you can uncomment those out. So here I'll put in this, and what we'll do is we'll implement it. Oh, this is to do 11. Yeah, implement dog click interface. So basically this interface here that we just created just now, let's implement this in main-activity.java. So here to save time, you can, okay, let me go slowly. Alt enter, implement methods, and implement on dog click. And here within on dog click, so we have to basically write this code. So here is what we're going to do. I'll go a little quickly on this one because we have covered this previously. Where do we want to go from? We want to go from this. Where do you want to go to? Details activity dot class. So which is this one. So when you click on something, it takes us to the screen. So here we have the intent, then intent dot put extra, and we'll give it the key of dog. And the thing is, we want to give it the click dog, right? So we have the position. So let us do m dogs position. So again, so this, I'm going quickly on this one. If there are any questions, be sure to ask. But trust me on this one, this will become very easy once you practice this. Right? Because no questions are coming in. So maybe people they find it too difficult, but it isn't. It really isn't. So don't worry about that. And I'm always here to help you. So be sure to ask your questions. And now let us start our activity doing the intent. So we put the dog as an extra in the intent. Remember we explained all those, the envelope, then this is the post box, the postman, gives we give the envelope to the postman, it sends it. Cool. Now we have sent the dog. Let us receive the dog in our detail screen. So in our detail screen, all this code is pre-written for you. So populate UI, it takes it from mdog. Currently mdog is null. But what we do is we take the intent that was passed to us and we extract it. So you can just copy this, or I won't copy, for the sake of time. So basically we take the parseable. So whenever you want to pass in an object, right? Here you're passing in dog. Dog must have to implement parseable. So we did that first. Now here we have to do get parseable extra. It's like get the object, and we get it here. and 17. There were 19 to-dos, so I'm missing 2. Oh, there were 17. So now if everything works correctly, our app should work. And so fingers crossed. Let's see how this works. And be sure to put your questions in. So let's see. So we know a list works because it worked in the previous step. So everything works. If you click on it, yep, everything works here too. So what we'll do is, since we've completed this step, we have covered, I'll give you a quick summary of what we've covered. We'll open it to questions. And then if you don't have questions, I will give you a very brief summary of what you've done again. So it'll be, I'm trying to cement all what you've learned, at least to some extent, to help all of us. Cool. First thing first, we took a dog object, we implemented pass label because we want to pass in the intent in our envelope, we want to put this dog object. So we have to, if you want to put dog, m dogs is a list of dogs, right? Array of dogs. So we took the dog, we implemented pass label. Then we did all this, the process, right, to implement it so we don't have any errors. Then in our adapter, we created this interface called dog click interface. It has this one abstract method. Abstract method without implementation, right? You see, there's no code here, no code here. Next, what we did was we created an a member variable of that interface. We added it to the constructor. Then, whenever the item view was clicked, so in our dog view holder, whenever the item view was clicked, we call that interfaces method on dog click, which is this, an interface. So now what do we do? So our adapter will call that method. But hey, we haven't really given any code to this method. So how is it working? Well, that comes to our second part, which is in main activity.java, which here, what we did was we implemented that interface. So again, these are Java concepts, or basically just OOP concepts, object-oriented programming concepts of interfaces. So we implemented the interface, so we have to override that method. So on dot-click, we overrode that method. Then we created an intent as always, like as usual. We created the envelope. We put our letter in the envelope. But earlier we used to pass like dog name, dog breed individually. Like I'll show you the code in our week 5 app. Let me show you in main activity.java on adapter. So this is the old code. Yep, you see here, we pass in the name, breed, likes, dislikes, image URL separately. But now what we did was, in today's app, you see just one line of code. Earlier we had to put 5 letters in the envelope. Now we just put 1 letter in the envelope with the key dog. How did we do that? Because of the parse label. So we can't directly put dogs here because intents, it works only with byte streams. So we have to convert the dog to a byte stream and then put it here. Next, to retrieve this information, in details activity, let me show you details activity previously. You see, it had to take in get intent.get string extra 5 times. As a programmer, we always want to do everything efficiently. So what dog dot get name, get breed. You see, earlier we had to create 5 fields. I'm scrolling too much. Yeah, here 5 separate variables, and then equate it here. So I hope this is like somewhat clear. So this, yes. I will definitely repeat. So in today's app, RecyclerView, yes, no, absolutely. So if you notice here in today's app, in our here, so in our details activity.java, we are retrieving a dog. So basically, we have got the envelope, right? Your recipient has got the envelope. Now remove the letters out of it. Currently, we're just removing 1 letter, which is very efficient. So this one letter, it encapsulates all the information like name of the dog, breed of the dog, likes of the dog, dislikes of the dog, and image of the dog, right? Because M dog earlier, so let me do Alt Tab. This is the app from week 5. Here, what we did was we had to extract each of these 5 letters in the envelope. So in today's app, we just have one letter in the envelope. In last week's app, we had 5 letters in the envelope. And that's why you have to do like string, 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 right? The individual fields. But now what we did was we did something clever, which is we put all the fields in this one dog object, right? All these fields here in this dog object. And then we extracted from our envelope the entire dog itself. And how is that possible? Because of a dog, it implements parseable. So parseable is for byte streams. So here are some words which will get familiar with you. Don't worry. Dot 7 to the T. So anyway, dog. Yep. In intents, whenever you want to pass in objects, you can't pass in objects. The workaround around that, or the workaround to work around that, is you convert objects using the parsable interface to a byte stream, and then dot put extra. You can pass in an actual object here, and not just the primitives like int, double, and the pseudo primitive like string. Now it even takes in actual objects, so you can put in the entire dog instead of last week where you had to put all these 5 fields separately, right? Envelope dot put letter, all the 5 letters individually. This time we just put one letter that has all dog information. Well, I hope I summarized that to a good extent. If there are any questions, we'll cover those questions. And also after this session, you can send me some questions either through LinkedIn. You can, and I'd be happy to answer those. So yeah. So no problem. So what we'll do is so this I hope this kind of helped in some way. The cheat sheet could help you in the future. The slides, you can refer the slides in the video by watching the video. And yep, that's it for this week. All of us, we hope you learned something, and like we hope this helped you in some way. And so see you for next week, where we're going to do a back-to-back on Wednesday and Thursday of next week, our capstone project. So we all are pretty excited, and see you next week. Thank you for coming, and see you next week. Take care.